This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Well, Jimmy Kimmel has come a long way from being a purveyor of girls jumping on trampolines to a noted healthcare policy expert.
Yeah, he's the moral authority on healthcare because his son had a heart surgery.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah.
The question is Jimmy Kimmel the opiate of the masses when it comes to healthcare policy? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Jimmy Kimmel used his talk show last night.
And the night before.
Yes, to inveigh against the Cassidy Graham Obamacare replace, in quotation marks, legislation that is being advanced and will be up for a Senate vote next week, it's being reported. And Kimmel is taking issue with a couple of people. One is Bill Cassidy, the Republican Louisiana senator, whose name is on the legislation. He's co-authored it with Lindsey Graham. Because Kimmel is alleging that Cassidy lied to him when Cassidy was previously on Kimmel's show.
I'm sorry, he does not understand.
Oh, I get it. I don't understand because I'm a talk show host, right? Well, and then help me out. Which part don't I understand? Is it the part where you cut $243 billion from federal health care assistance? Am I not understanding the part where states would be allowed to let insurance companies price you out of coverage for having pre-existing conditions? Maybe I don't understand the part of your bill in which federal funding disappears completely after 2026. Or maybe it was the part where the plans are no longer required to pay for essential health benefits like maternity care or pediatric visits, or the part where the American Medical Association, the American College of Physicians, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Hospital Association, the American Cancer Society, the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, Lung Association, Arthritis Foundation, Cystic Fibrosis, ALS, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, and the March of Dimes, among many others, all vehemently oppose your bill. Which part of that am I not understanding? Or could it be, Senator Cassidy, that the problem is that I do understand and you got caught with your GOP-ness out?
Oh. Well, basically he's saying that Senator Bill Cassidy lied. And he appeared on Kimmel's show, the senator did, vowing not to flunk the Jimmy Kimmel test. And that is, according to Cassidy, would the child born with a congenital heart disease be able to get everything he or she needed in the first year of life? So that's the Jimmy Kimmel test.
So to Jimmy Kimmel's question, am I not understanding? Which part am I not understanding? You're not understanding everything you just said. There's not a single thing you said that you understand. In fact, the bill would leave in place a rule requiring insurers to cover people with pre-existing conditions. Number one. Did you hear that? The bill would require insurers to cover people with pre-existing conditions. So I understand your passion for everyone else now because your son, unfortunately, has a heart challenge. And so he's had, 2 open heart surgeries? Mm-hmm. And we wish his son well. But as David Harsanyi points out in The Federalist, as far as I know, there isn't a single politician in America who's ever supported allowing babies to die because they're born with birth defects, even if parents can't pay. There never has been. And that's the point that Cassidy made. And his cheap demagoguery should be castigated, not celebrated.
Right, but he's giving a gift to Democrats, by having this platform to spew his own opinion of what this new Obamacare bill looks like. Because emergency heart surgery is never denied to babies based on ability to pay. Look at the hospital in question where his son had that surgery. There's a lot of illegal immigrants and they don't have health insurance or Medicaid, and they're not turned away. Right. So that's another point to let Jimmy Kimmel know.
So what doesn't he understand? He doesn't understand everything. And all those associations and insurance companies, by the way, the insurance companies he decries, it's worth noting why they support Obamacare, why they wrote Obamacare, because they're government rent seekers who want protection and a guaranteed source of funding from the government.
Yeah, they need that payday.
So Jimmy Kimmel and the left are in bed with them. They're in bed with rent seekers. They're in bed with big insurance. It is people like me who want market reforms to the insurance, as well as some personal responsibility and connection between provider and and customer in the system to truly lower costs and to expand choice. We're on the side of the little guys that Jimmy Kimmel's pretending to be on the side of. And it's disgraceful, and he shouldn't get away with it. By the way, just going on to the rest of what he ticked off, with respect to essential benefits, we talked about this in the first phase of the attempt to repeal. But let me cite an actual expert in healthcare policy. She is Elizabeth Stell. She's Director of Policy Analyst for the Commonwealth Foundation. She noted about the essential health benefits. Waivers to essential health benefits, community rating, and guaranteed issue mandates will allow the individual market to offer a wider variety of plans, including plans with lower costs. Before Obamacare, states like New Hampshire and Washington implemented guarantee issue only to repeal it after costs skyrocketed. Unfortunately, we didn't learn from history. Healthcare is an extremely unique and personal service. Why would the scope of insurance plans be any different, meaning unique and diverse and personal? And Kimmel is against that when he talks about these guaranteed essential benefits. That sounds good, guaranteed essential benefits, and most people don't look past the top line. Okay, well, what is that essential benefits? What would those be? What are the implications? But those are the implications, what Ms. Stell refers to in her response to that, because there was going to be more flexibility in the original version of Obamacare Replace. And that's the flexibility that continues in what is proposed by Graham and Cassidy.
Yeah, and as a mom, I mean, his invocation of his son is so absurd because Kimmel's son did not lack health insurance. And if he did need something,
or ability
he's
to
a
pay.
millionaire. Right, he's a millionaire.
Millionaire? I mean, he makes
Jimmy
$50 million a year.
I'm just saying,
approaching 9 figures.
Well, yeah, he has the money and he has health insurance. So he's trying to be a champion for the little. He was thinking about other babies in the NEEC unit. I mean,
yeah, he's a regular guy. He's a flunky, who's clever and had some popular Comedy Central shows carried by Adam Carolla on The Man Show and Ben Stein and Win Ben Stein's Money. And all of a sudden, not only is, he America's favorite late night talker, but he's also a health policy expert and the defender of the common man. Bull jive. Well, as most leftists, he's feigning his concern for the common man as a way to project what a great dad he is and how he's just like you. And now he's going to do something for you because he's been touched by a healthcare crisis in his family. And I'm not denigrating his son or the healthcare challenges his son have. And again, obviously, you hope that turns out well. This has nothing to do with his son. It has everything to do with Jimmy Kimmel's cheap politics. That's what this is.
Right, but this is how he pulled at all of our heartstrings and brought the issue to the forefront.
Billy was born with a heart disease.
I mean, that's what, started everyone like, uh-oh, Jimmy Kimmel's crying. Uh-oh.
In addition to that, the 15 Republican governors who signed on to this, at least so far, Ronner not being one of them. You heard on Mike Scott's newscast, Ronner expressing deep concerns. I mean, the idea of defending the unfundable Obamacare Medicaid expansion in this state initiated by Quinn, where you're tracking to have 1 in 3 Illinoisans on Medicaid. You cannot finance it. And oh, by the way, who gets hurt? You think you're standing up for the little guy, Governor Ronner, or anybody else? No, you're not. We can't fund the system. So what happens? The people who are the truly the intended beneficiaries of Medicaid, developmentally disabled, pregnant women, indigent children, they see their access to services decline, reduced in quality and choice. And Medicaid is not exactly where individuals who have choices choose for all kinds of obvious reasons.
Well, a lot of doctors don't take anybody on Medicaid either.
Because they don't get paid.
Right, exactly. And they'll ask you, are you on Medicaid? Oh, if you are, you can't come here.
Including hospitals that receive state and federal money, like University of Chicago. They stopped accepting Medicaid patients because they weren't getting reimbursed by the state, even though those reimbursements from this federal state program are often at below cost of services provided. I mean, a whole thing is upside down, and the cheap rhetoric, the preening rhetoric of hacks like Jimmy Kimmel and, most of Congress too, for that matter, is just so disturbing. And unfortunately, people, again, don't take the time to dig in. The other, and so just the other point about the money, because he talked about $243 billion is going to be cut.
It's not cut right. Isn't it shifted from federal to states?
Block granting monies to states
Okay.
to have more flexibility in how they operate, in part because some states expanded Medicaid under Obamacare and some states did not. And so the bill seeks to distribute funds roughly equally among the states. 31 states expanded Medicaid, and some states had considerably higher enrollment in subsidized plans. So because the funding would go away to be replaced by block grants, some states would see a net funding gain, and others would see a loss. But that's based on the path that they chose and continue to choose if they want.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey Debt Pro answer line. 64636, type in DA, then a quick comment.
Sharon in Itasca, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. What I find unreal about a supercilious liberal like Jimmy Kimmel, not only are there thousands of other parents with children of like his son who have that kind of an affliction, but they are unable to dole out the cash to be able to pay for the same treatment that he could readily afford out of pocket for his son. And let's not forget what they rated to start Obamacare. They took a ton of money out of Medicare to senior citizens. This is why these programs, Social Security and Medicare, are in danger, because people like Mr. Kimmel, who's a liberal socialist statist, couldn't care less. He just wants to sound like a regular person, because no person like him likes to be described as a Hollywood liberal. Him and George Clooney are mirror images that way. But I find it disgusting that he would go up there and grandstand and use his son as an example. I know two other families with very serious illness, children who are ill, and they can no longer afford the Obamacare, which has been we've been duped for now for the past how many years? I find him appalling. I really do, in spite of his son's illness. That's my comment. Thanks
for the call, Sharon. In addition, Kimmel took time to go after Brian Kilmeade, who went after him. So this is Jimmy Kimmel and Brian Kilmeade from Fox and Friends. After Kilmeade took a shot at him over the weekend. First you'll hear from Kilmeade and then Kimmel giving his response.
Sunday's politically charged Emmys may have been the lowest rate in history, but that's not stopping Hollywood elites like comedian Jimmy Kimmel for pushing their politics on the rest of the country. Watch.
Thanks, Brian. That was Brian Kilmeade. And the reason I found this comment to be particularly annoying is because this is a guy, Brian Kilmeade, who whenever I see him, kisses my ass like a little boy meeting Batman. Oh, he's such a fan. He's been to the show. He follows me on Twitter. He asked me to write a blurb for his book, which I did. He calls my agent looking for projects. He's dying to be a member of the Hollywood elite. The only reason he's not a member of the Hollywood elite is because nobody will hire him to be one. And, you know, the reason I'm talking about this is because my son had an open heart surgery and has to have 2 more. And because of that, I learned that there are kids with no insurance in the same situation. I don't get anything out of this. Brian, you phony little creep. Oh, I'll pound you when I see you. That is my blurb.
Mm-hmm. Oh, things just got a little real around here.
And, of course, he couldn't finish his monologue without taking the Trump shot.
There's no way President Trump read this bill that he says is great. He just wants to get rid of it because Obama's name is on it. The Democrats should just rename it Ivanka Care. Guaranteed he gets on board. Can you imagine Donald Trump actually sitting down to read a health care bill? It's like trying to imagine a dog doing your taxes. It just doesn't compute, you know?
David Harsanyi, going back to his piece in The Federalist, reacted saying, the monologue could have been written by any liberal activist, which is to say it's zero-sum emotionalism. Anyone can play that game. Fact is that Kimmel is a fan of the status quo, and he wants you to call Cassidy to complain about it. It's a shame that Kimmel didn't provide a number to call for the tens of millions of Americans who've seen their premiums and out-of-pocket costs skyrocket under Obamacare strictures. Is there no telephone number for those who are sick of being in exchanges that coerce them to buy plans they don't need, sold to them by companies they don't like, and fabricated non-competitive markets that have dwindling choices? Kimmel doesn't believe Americans deserve the chance to reduce the cost of health care with market-based reforms on the state level, or in giving states any flexibility in catering their plans to citizens. And so it turns out that Kimmel is a proponent of American suffering, not a defender to prevent Americans from suffering.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.